So today I want to go over what I think is one of the best solo experience farms in Diablo 4. And this farm is going to take place in the Blind Burrows dungeon. Now you can do this any way you want. You can do this as a solo player for endgame experience farming, where I think it's one of the best solo experience farms currently in the endgame. You can also do it if you're leveling up a new character. I think this is around a level 35 dungeon. So if you have a character around there, you can also come farm experience here, and it's going to be really good, especially for something like a Whirlwind Barbarian. And then if you're in a group, like everything else in the game, it's generally just going to be better. But I do think there's other better dungeons if you're specifically doing this in an endgame group for experience. And the reason this dungeon is so good is because the sheer density of mobs you can find in here. And this dungeon is primarily going to be filled up with spiders, meaning there's going to be those spider carrier enemies that when you kill them, they burst into like a dozen smaller spiders. And all those smaller spiders are also going to be giving you experience. And then you're also going to find a handful of clumps of elites, and there'll usually be around 6 elites in each one of these different packs, which will just give a big bump to the overall experience gained. And you'll usually end up getting like 800,000 to 900,000 experience doing one of these runs. That's if you're in World Tier 4 and into the end game. And this is going to be even better of a farm if you're a build that can easily deal with the type of mobs you're going to be finding in here. Because like I mentioned, there's going to be a ton of those enemies that burst into just like a dozen smaller spiders. So you want something that can easily deal with all these small enemies to where you're not going to have to slow down all the time when killing those bursting enemies. So something like a Whirlwind Barbarian is going to be incredibly strong. I was doing this on a pulverized druid. That's also really good because of how much AoE you have. But if you're also playing a build that has additional procs or cooldown reductions or something like that based off of killing a lot of enemies, this is going to be really good as well. Because on the pulverized druid, you have your ultimate skill that you gain increased duration with every enemy you're killing. And in here, you're always going to reach that max duration, making that specific build even better for this dungeon. And there's going to be 2 parts of this dungeon. The first one wanting you to go kill these elite enemies. They're going to be at the different corners of this dungeon. They're always going to be in these 3 different rooms, basically at every edge of the map. And usually there'll be 4 rooms. One of them will have an event. You just want to skip that. The other 3 usually having the objectives in them. So you want to just go to those objectives, kill those elites, and try to clear out the rest of the map as you make your way to the other elites. Once you're done with that first objective, it wants you to go to the second part of the map. And there's going to be that transition room where you go in and then it spawns waves of enemies. And what's a little bit different with this dungeon is that middle room where you have to do the small gauntlet actually does give you experience and loot in this dungeon. A lot of other dungeons that have that kind of intermediate room with a bunch of spawns you have to kill, a lot of those don't actually give you experience or loot. This one, for whatever reason, does. And then after you get past that room, you're going to keep following the path until you find a big group of elites. You're going to kill those elites, and then you're going to leave and reset the dungeon. Going and killing the boss at the end really isn't worth it. It only gives around 7,000 experience, and it generally doesn't give enough loot to be worth it. I've killed this boss in World Tier 4 before and legitimately just gotten 1 blue gear piece, so it's generally not worth it at all. And then at that point, if you're a solo player, you're going to teleport to the front of the dungeon, log out, log back in, it'll reset the dungeon. If you're in a group, have your leader leave first, have everybody else leave the group, the leader will re-invite everybody, you'll all be teleported to the front of the dungeon, you enter back in and go and re-clear. And another boon to this dungeon is you're also going to be getting a decent amount of crushed beast bones. And you're usually not going to get a ton of these from just normally playing the game, but most of the enemies in this dungeon do have a chance to drop this material. And these crushed beast bones are going to be used for a handful of the different elixirs, including the armor elixir and the attack speed elixir. So once you get very far into the end game and want to start using elixirs specifically for the additional stats they give, this will be a very good resource for a lot of the different builds in the game. And also, one of the biggest tips I can give you for running this dungeon is a lot of the enemies in here are going to explode and put a big poison on you if you're in that explosion radius. Now, this poison doesn't just instantly kill you or do big bursts of damage, but you'll notice if you kill a big group of enemies, your entire health bar is completely poisoned. I've gotten it to where I legitimately have had like 5x my health in poison damage ticking on me. So if you're not a super tanky build, or even sometimes if you are a tanky build, keep an eye on your health bar and keep potions popped a lot of the time, because with how much you're killing, you're going to be replenishing your potions quite a bit, and this poison damage will catch up with you over time if you don't keep your health pretty high. But that's all I want to go over, so thanks for watching.
I'm not ready yet. I'm low on spirit. I do not have enough spirit. I must wait a moment. I'm out of spirit. I must wait a moment. I'm low on spirit. I must wait a moment. I'm not ready yet. I must wait a moment.